Hello, and welcome to Mitchell Consulting Group's webinar series for our Mitchell University. Today we're going to be working with SAP Business One version 9.0, and we're going to be going a new functionality which is known as bin locations. For purpose of the demo, like we said, we're using the new version of SAP version 9.0. This webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website, so you can visit us at www.mitchellgroup.com to view this, plus the others in our training series. So let's begin, and let's talk about this new functionality. Again, SAP has integrated a bin location. Bin locations allow us to store our inventory in certain areas. Again, we can typically in bin locations, when we think about it, we think of in a warehouse the rows and the shelves. We have different rows, and then on those rows we have different sections on those rows, and then different shelves. We can maintain stuff in these specific bin locations. We can also create bin locations as zones, which I'll show you in the setup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you kind of a brief overview of the system. I'm going to show you the setup, how you set it up per warehouse, how to create the bins, some bin management, some bin reportings, and then we'll just go through a simple flow. We're going to receive some product into a receiving bin, and then we're going to transfer that to other bins, and then we're going to go ahead and create a sales order and go to the pick pack. So let's begin. Let's talk about some of the setup. If you go here under Administration, Inventory, you'll see that the bin locations is controlled by warehouse. Now, the good thing about this, you don't have to have bin locations in all your warehouses. If you do an upgrade and from an older version and bring the data in, you can then activate the bins, and you can start moving stuff from bin to bin. So if we look here on the warehouses, and again, we're going to call up Warehouse 1, which we have set up, and you can see a whole new tab here called Bin Locations. If I go to Warehouse 2, you'll see I do not have that. I have this option here, Enable Bin Locations. So once I turn this on, then I will have the bin locations. You can see here they're enabled, so I have the bin locations set up for this warehouse. And in here we can set some defaults. We can determine the bin location separator. We're just going to use a dash. This tells me the number of bins defined for this warehouse, which is 51. And again, I'll show you that. You can have a default bin location for receiving. Again, you can enforce the default bin, so everything goes to that bin. You can set to receive up to a max quantity, and we'll see this in the bin location setup. And again, you can enable the receiving of the bin locations. So let's look at a bin location, and I'll show you how to set them up. We're going to go here, and we're going to take a look at this receiving. And again, you can see here you have, I have warehouse, zone, and area. I also have row and shelf. This one here does not have a row or shelf. This is actually defined as one zone. But you can see I have it turned on as a receiving bin. I can give it a description to make it easy for searching and for reporting purposes. You can see right now that there's 5 items in that receiving bin. Again, I can put alternate source codes. I can define a minimum quantity, so I have to have at least 2 or 3 in the bin. I can also define the max quantity. You can see the item quantity here. So we have a total of these 5. We have a total in this receipt bin of all this information here. So again, you can see in the receipt bin, I have 1 of this item, 1 here, I have 4836, and so on. And again, we're going to come back to this because here we can show you some postings and transfers. And again, like we said, you can set it up for batches. We do have an item in here that has batch and serial. Again, this is integrated. The batch and serial are integrated within the system. So if you look at an inventory posting, let's say of this item, you'll see the information. Again, all what we have in the system here. So again, you can determine your bins here. So again, you can create your bins like this, so it's kind of just more of like a wide open bin. You can have a barcode for the bin. This is nice because when you're doing scanning or inventory taking, which there's a module we have for inventory taking, which is something new in SAP. version 9, and you'll see we have a webinar on that. So if you want to visit our site, you can see that on inventory taking, which is a nice functionality. So you can set a barcode and make it easy. You can also put a max quantity, how much you want in this bin. And again, you can do some item restrictions to the bin. You can have a bin for a specific item. Okay. So every time that item gets received, you want that item to look at this bin first, but it can go into other bins as well. You can make a single item only, so you can only have this item. So a specific item means, for example, item 1 is specific to this, but I can have item 1 and item 2 in this bin. Single item only means, again, I only have item 1. I can make it specific to an item group, and again, I could do a single group. So again, I have all that information. I can do transaction restrictions. Again, you can say there's no restrictions. You can lock a bin, so they can't do any transactions. You can do incoming transactions only, outbound, and again, you have some other information. This may be good sometimes, and again, I'm going to show you different options because this is a receiving area, so you may want to have it for inbound only, again, and manually move the stuff out, but again, it's up to you. You can manage the bin locations, again, all from this window, so you can see here, you can manage bin locations, and again, we'll get to this report later on, show you how it works. And you can modify bin location codes if we want to make a change. So let's go back now. Look at the rest of the setup. Again, we saw the warehouse. So we have this turned on for this specific warehouse. Let's also go here in administration. Again, under setup, under inventory, and you can see now we have this bin locations tab. So here we can set up our bin locations. So we have a couple things that we can do. We can create our levels. And again, you don't have to use all the levels. The first level is a hard coding. Okay, it's the sub-level. And again, I just gave that a name. I called that the zone. So I have a specific zone. And then what I can do is I can have an area, which I'm using for sub-level 2, and a row and a shelf. You may just want to have, let's say, not have the zone or area and just have a row and shelf. Again, it depends on how you want to set up your warehouse, but you can create all these levels. I'm just using for the demo all the levels. You have bin location attributes. So again, if you just want to have different attributes, these are similar to, you have the item properties and the business partner properties. Similar concept. I have just 2 turned on, and I can give them names. Again, but I can use these if I want. You can see that. So these are the levels you saw dealing with. So we're dealing with these 4 levels. The bin location attribute codes. Again, you can create a code, and then you can assign that. Here's attribute 1. You can give it a code, and again, you can assign it to a bin if you want. Here you see I have nothing assigned, but if you wanted to assign those attributes, you can. You have the warehouse sub-level codes. And again, this is kind of where you set up for that zone. So you can see here, let's open up both. Let's put this here. Move this over here. So you can see the way I have my warehouse set up, and again, this is typical in a warehouse. Again, you can have it, but most warehouses have a receiving area, a receiving zone, okay, which is like a staging area, a shipping zone, and then they have typically the shelves, a stocking zone, which is in and out. Again, that makes it more efficient, so when merchandise comes in, it all gets received into this one, and you can see there's only one bin location. This is one giant receiving area, one giant bin. So everything comes in here. I unpack it. I do some quality checks. I make sure it's okay. And then what I do is I then decide to put it on the shelves. And again, we're going to go through that process. We're going to actually do that transfer. So we're going to bring into the receiving zone, and then we're going to put it on the shelf. And you can see in this zone, okay, there's a stocking zone, which I just called in-out. You can see that there are 48 bin locations. And again, you can just see how they were created. Again, I just created here, so you can see that we have the warehouse, again, the zone, the area, the row, and the bin. So row 1, you have bins 1 through 10, and then you have row 2 and 3 and so on. And you only see all the information here. And again, you can see that in this bin, okay, we have 100 items. We only have one of those items. So if we go here, Again, you can see that item. If we go here on this one, we have 2. We have 260, and we have this item, item 1 and item 3. So again, this is kind of the typical setup. So that was my zone. Remember, I have my zone, and then I have my areas. Again, I can define areas. So if I look here at my areas, and again, I didn't use any names in the demo, but it would be nice to put the different areas here just to make it easier for you to find out. You can see that the description just comes over as area 1, in, out, in area 1. And again, you do the same thing. So the next one would be the row. I can define my rows. And this one, again, just row 1. But I would put maybe, again, if I want to change the description. And then my final level is the shelves. And again, I just put shelf 1, shelf 2, and so on. But again, how you want to set it up, again, how you want it to print on, say, your picking slips and so on, you can define that. So that was the sub-level. And again, you can see here how we have this receiving zone, and you can see I have that as my default. If we look here in the warehouse, this, again, receipt, I'm just making that my default bin. Okay, because I'm doing that because, again, in the system, I'll show you, you can let SAP, depending on how you have this set up, so you can see like this auto allocation on issue. Again, where do you want to, how do you want to do it? Descending, descending. So SAP will kind of try to figure it out for you. But again, most people recommend that they do it by hand. So typically what happens is merchandise comes into one main place. You can have SAP decide what shelf to put it on. It will, based on this criteria, pick it for you. But most people like to bring it into, say, a receiving zone, and then they decide where they're going to put it on the shelf. And the same holds true when you can do a pick ticket. You can pick directly off the shelves. What a lot of people like to do is get that pick ticket, do a transfer it off the shelf into, say, the shipping area, and then have it all go out from there. So again, it's your preference how you want to set it up, but it's available here. And again, here you can look at, for management features, again, you can do some tasks, generate warehouse sublevels, update, and you can delete if you want to start moving things around. Okay, that was the setup. So now let's go in and look at some other stuff, some new fields that were created. So again, you saw that to activate it, you go under the inventory setup. You can see here administration, setup, inventory, and then you can activate the warehouse, and then you would activate your bin location and set up your information here. And once that's set, you can see, so let's go now into the inventory module and a couple of things. Let's go to the item master. And again, we'll be using this item today for our demo, this item here. So if I go into the inventory data, you can see now we have these new fields. Okay, and you can see that you only have it on this warehouse. The other warehouses, warehouse 2, 3, and 4, this is grayed out because I don't have my bins active in those warehouses. So again, this is just the first bin that an item is in. So again, you can see here, these are all the bins that contain this item. You see a total of 516, which is my quantity on hand. Right here, in stock. And again, you can see I have 100 in bin 1, I have 92 in bin 10, and so on. So I have here in the in-out, everything is in area 1. I have some on row 1, a couple on row 2, and there's my information. So now under my inventory, I look here, I have a new submenu called bin locations. So here's the bin location master data. So again, you can search and you can create from here. You can see how I did it. So again, you can create my warehouse. I have my zone, my area, my row, and my shelf. That's because I set that up to use all of those. And again, let's just call up the first one. And you can see it's here. And notice this one has 100. So if I see how this is grayed out, can't make any changes to this directly through here. You can see this one doesn't have quality. Remember, that's a functionality of SAP. We know that in SAP, as long as we don't have transactions, historical transactions, we can make some changes. So again, if we define a new item, and we haven't sold or purchased that item, we can change the item description. If we have a business partner who has no activity, the same thing. We can change the business partner codes. But again, once we have some transactional data, we can't change that. So you can see that we don't have any items in here. Okay, so we can make a change. But if I go to this item, you can see I have 260, so I really can't change this. I would have to use this here to modify the information. And again, you saw this before, the bin master. So we have this information. We can make it an inactive bin. We can set it up for receiving. Okay, this is not a receiving bin. We just have this as a stocking bin. We have 2 items in that bin. And again, you can get to that from here as well. Here's my 2 items. And again, we talked about how you can set a barcode for the bin. You can define if it's items with serial and batch. You can manage that through the bins. You can put a min and max quantity. And what I say people do is you have a max quantity. So if I have max quantity, say 300 here, and I try to bring an extra 50, it'll put 40 in this bin, and I'll have to put the 10 somewhere else. And again, we have that item restriction we saw. We can restrict this bin if we want. So we have it all here. We have the bin location management. And again, we can run reports on this. So we can look here. So let's say we want from warehouse, say 01 to 01, and we want a specific zone. So let's just tab. Let's look at our in-out zone. Again, you can see information on there. We can generate and make some changes to the system if we want. The bin location management, again, we saw that works the same. That's the one actually I showed you, the bin location code modification. This is something we want to do if we want to modify a specific code. So we want to say 01, 01, and then let's say zone, take this one here. And again, this system bin location, again, once you define bins, you're always going to have that one kind of default in the system. So we got to put a sub-level in here. So I guess I don't have anything in that. Let's just go up. Let's use the in-out because I don't have anything in that bin probably. I don't have anything in those bins. But again, you can use the management here to go through it. So let's go through now, and let's see how this works. So let's go back to the item master data. Let's call up this item. And what we're going to do is we're going to receive 100 into the receiving bin. So you can see here, if I look right now, I don't have anything in the receiving bin. Everything's been put away. So we're going to go through the process, and let's just do a simple receiving. We're going to do a goods received. I'm going to go here and let's just call up a vendor. Again, we have our date. We'll do this today. Let's put this first item. Let's do 100. And you can see now we have this new tab. We have some new tabs on the system. So we have the bin location, allocation. So if I click this, what this says, you can see this is the bin location allocation receipt. There are 2 programs in there. There's a receipt and an issue. Again, just like we've worked with adjustments, we have the goods receipt, which will bring information in, and we have the goods issue, which will bring information out. Again, you can here tab, and you can search your bins. So again, if you want to put them directly on the shelf, you can do it, or you can search for that receipt bin, which is right here. And what I can do here is just going to assign. Here, I'm going to assign the default bin automatically, and what it's doing, it's going to put 100 in the receipt bin. That's what I want to do. I want to bring into the receipt. I want to move it around later on. Very simple. Click OK. Add. We add this document. So we've done a goods receipt. Let's call it back up. So again, now if you look, you can see that we have in that bin. Again, we're looking at the inventory posting data. You can see it's in the receipt bin, 100. If we go back to the item, and we look at all the bins, you can see now that we have 100 in that receipt bin. So we received it in the bin. Now what we can do a couple things. We can, again, we can do it actually right from here. We can put it away. We can also do it from the inventory report. So now we took those out. We want to go ahead and do a transfer. Again, we have the content list, which is actually generated within the item master. And we also have it here. Again, we can do this. We can update bin properties. We can generate bin locations and all through here. Or we can do it directly from that item there. So let's go back in and let's go back into our management. See what we got here. Actually, let's do it from the inventory reports. Let's just do it from the bin location list. So here we're going to say we want the receiving bin. We can also do it this way. So you can see here, here's the total we have in that receipt bin. And again, we have 6 items. We're going to only deal with that. We just want to deal with that one item. So what we're going to do is we're just going to select my one item. I could do this for all of them, and typically I would bring them all, but let's just, again, I want to select this item at 100, and I want to issue a transfer. So now I have this inventory transfer. What SAP did, it took the standard inventory transfer, and again, it allows us to use that to go not only from warehouse to warehouse, like the standard one was, we can go within a warehouse. So I'm going to just go from warehouse 1 to warehouse 1, and I'm going to transfer from the bin to bin. If warehouse 2 also had bins, I can do the same thing. So again, I'm going to go here. I'm going to clear it all. So I'm going to take all 100. So you can see, again, the from and to. Also, what SAP did, I just want to show you this, which holds true. Let's get this on the screen better. This now is, even if you did not have bins, the inventory transfer has changed a little bit in version 9, where they have the from and to up here on the header. You can still modify down here, but in the older one, you had the from up here, and then they had the to down here. So now, again, you can just do it down here. So you can see the from. Let's click on, so we have 100. So we want to get all 100 from this one, and you can see we selected the 100. It's coming out of the receipt area. And the to bin is where we want to put the 100. So again, here, we can auto-assign this, okay, which is just going to take it back in the receipt. We don't want to do that. We want to actually decide where we're going to put it. So we're just going to tab. And let's see what we've got. So let's just take it, I think, let's just put it all in bin location 10. I'm going to choose, or we can do both. We can put 75 in bin location 10. You can see here we allocated and we still have 25 remaining, and we're just going to go and let's just put the other in bin location 11. We're just going to do this, so we're going to put 25 here. Okay. So we're going to use 10 and 11. You can see here. I'm going to update. Click OK. We're going to go ahead and add the transfer. Let's go back and look at that transfer. And again, we have the transfer 12. And you can see all the information that came across. Again, you can look at the from warehouses and so on. Again, if I want to drill into it, I can see this one came. We took here 100 from that. And again, you're looking at the inventory posting, so you can see here the inventory posting list. So we took 100 out of the receipt. So we took 100 out of there and we put it here. So again, this updates all my inventory posting lists. Again, there's no really effect in general ledger because we're just moving. It's not affecting costs. But again, you see that everything is very seamless. You can set it up. So now I just have everything in the system. Okay. Again, a very simple process. I can do the same process if I want. Let's say I have that shipping area. I'm just not going to do that now, but I could do the same thing. I can go and pull things off the shelf, which we'll do through a pick pack, and put them into the shipping if you want. Again, if we look at the items, so let's go back now. Let's close some of these screens. So again, you see I just the easiest way to do that, I did it from the bin location list, okay, which is under the inventory reports. You can see here. Let's go back to my inventory item master. And again, if we go back now to the inventory data tab, we'll see that we for this item, we do not have anything in the 100 is no longer in the receiving bin, and you can see here that we use bins 10 and 11. So we have that 75 and 35. We had some other information in there. We can just go ahead and click, and again, we can look at all the information. You can see this one, this bin had a max of 50. So what it'll do is it'll put the information in the item quantity, but you can set up a max. That max was set after the items were in there. Okay, so very easy to work with. So now what we've done is we've gone through our process flow. We've received merchandise. We did a goods receipt. We brought it into the receiving. We've obviously did our quality control checks. We checked everything, and what we did is we decided, okay, all the items were good. We put the 75 in bin 10, and we put the 25 in bin 11. So now let's do a sales order, and let's go to the pick pack, and let's do selling. So we're going to go to sales in AR. I think I have it up here. I'm going to use the common functions. Let's do a sales order. Let's select our person, and let's put a delivery date of today. And we're going to call up that item. Let's just put 100. And we're going to enter our sales order. So again, we have sales order 354. Let's just add the order. Well, we don't have a price. Let's give this a price of, let's say, 300. Let's go ahead and let's take the discount off. So nice and easy. There we go. So we have 100 at 300. Let's go ahead and add that sales order. So now we have a sales order. So now we're going to create a delivery. Again, since we have the sales order and how we have our merchandise set up, we don't need to pull bins on the sales order. But once we get into the delivery mode, once we start affecting inventory quantities, we're going to have to pick the bins. So let's do that to the pick pack manager. I'm going to go into pick pack, the pick pack manager. I'm just going to run it for today. And again, you can see here, I'm just going to use this warehouse right here. And you can see I have the one order in the open drawer. I'm going to select that order. And I'm going to go ahead and release the pick. And now this is also a nice functionality that was added in version 9. Again, you don't have to have the bin locations, but the pick list generation wizard, they actually created a wizard for it, like you see in the other one. So again, we're just going to go through this and scroll through. And again, here you can see the bin location. So what I can do is I can I can request certain zones and certain bins. Again, if I want to narrow down what I want the pick ticket to have, I'm just going to go next. And again, you can see the automatic allocation of how it's working. So what it's doing is suggesting what to pick. I'm going to click next. And again, you're going to see here, pick ticket 9. Just going to go ahead and generate that. So if I look at my released, I can see pick ticket 9 was released. And again, you can see the information here. There's my order. There's my information. So I'm going to say pick all. So I'm going to pick all 100. We're going to update. Click OK. We move now to the pick drawer. We can see here that we have this pick. And again, you can see how the system automatically brought it out from this one here. Again, I have it in a manual mode. It selected all the items. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create. So let's create a manual delivery. If we can do an automatic delivery, we want to do a manual delivery, so we want to just double check everything. So again, we want to check all our dates and so on. And again, you can see the warehouse code and everything here. I'm going to go ahead and add that. So again, very simple. Let's do another sales order, and let's do it where we can select that. We let the system go through it. We're just going to go ahead and enter another order. We'll call up Earthshaker again. We'll use the item. We'll do 50 of these. Go back to our pick pack. Here we have it. Let's release the pick. Again, we can create directly here. You know, that's the standard in the pick pack, but let's release the pick. And again, here we can see all our different zones and warehouses. Let's go to say, let's go here to the in-outs. Again, if we want, we can do this as well. We don't need to. And again, we can define bin location order, how we want to do it. Here's our pick number 10. You can see what we released. And again, we can just add more of the fields. Everything's on here. We can generate that. So if we look at our released, we have it right here. Make sure we have our fields that we need are on. So again, we can look at our pick here. We can go into our bins. Again, look at our bins that we're using. Let's say we're going to pick 10 from this bin. Let's just pick all. Let's go to our picked. Again, we can see our picked information here. We can see how much we picked. I have it set for automatic. I want to turn it where we can actually pick my bin. Well, I have it set for automatic. I have to take the automatic off, but you understand the concept here. So we're going to go ahead and create. Let's create a manual delivery. And again, you can see the process. So let's recap what we've gone over. We're going over the new functionality in SAP version 9. And this functionality allows us to create bin locations per warehouse. So we can set this up. And we're going to go, again, some of the setup. If we go to administration, we would go to setup, inventory, and we go to our bin location setup. And here we can say the fields that were active. So again, here we're looking at the sub-levels. We decided to use zone, area, and row and shelf. We used all four. You can see the warehouse sub-level is active by default because it's by warehouse. And then you can go ahead and activate. In this case, we're using an area, a row, and a shelf. You can set bin location attributes. And we have two active, and you can give them names. It's additional for reporting purposes. And you can see here the bin location attribute codes. So you can set up the different attribute codes here. The warehouse sub-level codes. Again, this is how you would set it up. So the way I have my warehouse zone, and again, this one is always the system. By default, it's going to just always create one. So here I have for my zones, I have a receiving bin, which has one. I have a shipping bin, which has one. And I have an in-out, which is my stocking. You can see here the same with the area. In this case, I have 4 areas. You can see the number of bins in each area. I have 3 rows. Each one has 16. And then shelves. And I have all the information here for these shelves. And then at the warehouse level, you can see once we enable the bin locations, we have this now bin location tab. We have our default bin location. We can determine here, enable receiving bins. How do we want to receive it? You're going to restrict the receipts to empty bins. So if you don't want to put anything into an empty bin, you can see our separator code. Again, our number of total bins for this warehouse, our default receiving area. Again, you can force that to be on and your auto allocation. You can do here single choice. So let's turn this on. And again, you can see that's the setup. In the inventory itself, we now have some new fields. So in the item master, you can see here, if we look at the inventory data tab, we now have this here. And again, you can set a default bin for this one here, but you can see now how much we have in stock. And so on. We have now our bin locations. So you can see here on the inventory, we have a submenu for the bin location master data. And like we just talked about, we can define areas and restrictions on that bin, so we can set up, again, different information, max, minimum maxes. You can restrict for certain items and batches and item groups and so on. You can manage and modify any of the names and information here. Very similar to the when people who work with serials, you have that management screen. Bin location management. Again, you can run this, and you can go ahead and actually make changes to any of the bins, and you can modify some codes. Under the inventory reports, we have a couple here. We have the bin location list. It's just going to give us a list of everything. And again, there's those attributes that you can use for reporting purposes. In the bin location content, again, you can see the information here. Again, you can do batch and serials, as well as your item groups, those reports. You can see here that the way it works now, let's do a goods receipt. To go through the process, we're going to actually do a goods receipt. You can see I have my default bin as a receiving bin. So I'm just going to go here and create another one. Let's receive 50 of these. And again, now if you look here, again, we can choose where we want to put it, or we can just use my default. I'm going to put all 50 in that receiving bin. I'm going to add that. So you can see now everything is in that receiving bin. If we look at the last transaction, again, you can see it here. We now have 50 in there. We want to make a change. We can do it from the item itself, or we can go to the inventory reports. Again, we're just going to run this for the receipts. And you can see everything we have in here. Let's do a transfer. And again, you can see everything in there. I just want to use, again, in my case, I want to use the one item. So it's going to delete these rows. But again, typically I would do all of them because let's say all this information was received. So we would have to put all that information from the receiving bin into specific put-away bins. Again, I'm just going to make it easy and do one. And again, I'm just going to tab. Let's put it here in bin 1. You can see all, let's put all 50 in bin 1. Let's add that. So again, I'm using the inventory transfer program, like you saw, to actually put things into the bin. So you can see from the bin, I took 50 out of the receiving, and I put 50 into this bin right here. Now I have it in the information. Again, if I go to the item, you'll see here, in the item inventory data tab, you'll see that I have 50 in bin 1. And then with the pick pack, let's go again, do a sales order real quick. We'll do this on today's date. Let's put our item again. And let's put 75. Go ahead and add the sales order. Go to our pick pack, our pick pack manager. We're going to run that for today. Let's see, here's our order. We're going to release our order, release the pick. And we're going to use the pick generation wizard. We can determine the zones. So again, we're going to go in the bin location order. And here's our pick we created. So let's just generate the pick. You can see now that I've generated my pick ticket number 11. Here it is. So you're going to see here we have these two orders. And you can see now that we have the information, again, in the two bins. We have the 50 in that bin. We also have 25. So here now I can determine my bin. Before I had it set for automatic, and that's why it was doing it for me. But now I want to control it. I'm going to say, you know what? This is what I have. This is my 75. It's telling me, hey, you can take 50 from bin 1, because remember, we have it sorting in bin order. So bin 1 comes before bin 10. So I can take the 50 from there, and I can generate the other one here, my available to pick. So what I can do here is I can say, let's pick 75. Let's pick the 25. And let's pick the 50 from here. Let's update that. Again, you can see we got them from those. So if we go here to our released, again, you can see it here in the pick drawer and all the information, our 50 and 25. And then we can go ahead and create a automatic delivery. Again, you can see that. So we created automatic delivery. So let's just cancel this. And again, there's our 75. Let's open up our bin location allocation. So you can see here as we picked it up. Again, we see the posting list. Again, really nice functionality that was added to SAP. It's great now if you want to work with bins. Makes it very easy to work with. Again, you can go very simple, very complex. So again, really nice functionality. I like that they put in a version 9. Okay, so that concludes our webinar today. Again, just to recap, we talked about the new functionality called bin locations. We showed you how you can set up bins, the different levels. You can have up to the 4 levels if you want. You don't have to use them all. You can create the certain areas like zones. Like you can create a receiving area, a shipping area, and then kind of an in-out for all your warehouse shelves. You can set that by warehouse, so not all your warehouses have to have bins. In this case, only warehouse 1 has the bin. You can set some defaults. So I have a default receiving. So every time I receive merchandise, when I do a goods receive, I come into that receiving bin. I can then do some quality control checks, check my merchandise. I can use the transfer program, which now has been modified to handle bins. I can use a transfer program to take the bins from the receiving area onto the shelves. I could also make it easy. Again, you're seeing that SAP is, from the delivery side, SAP is pulling off the shelves automatically. We talked about in the beginning, some people like that, but again, I don't really have the control of what bins that I'm taking from. So what I can do, and most of our clients, what they'll do is they'll actually go and they'll go into the system and they'll pull off the shelves what they need into that shipping. So again, I would do the inventory transfer. So I would pull from the shelves into the staging area or into the shipping area. And then from there, I can actually go, and when I do my delivery, I can just pull from the shipping area. I did it the other way, again, for the purposes. I just want to show you the different stuff. But you can set the other way. The other way is an additional step, but some people like that. They don't want the system deciding what bins to pull from. If you don't really, it doesn't matter. What you can do is you can have the system automatically pull from the bins, based on your criteria. I was doing it by bin numbers, so it's going from bin 1, 2, 3, and so on. But what you can do is you can actually use the transfer program to take it from the shelves into the shipping area and then just go from the shipping area. So again, really nice functionality. I'm glad they finally added that into SAP. It was a long time coming. So once again, as we said, that concludes our webinar today. This webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website at www.mitchellgroup.com. And you can view this plus the others in our training series. And we thank you for your time.